Yo, how's it going, guys? Dom here, and today I'm with my boy Jack. Say what's up, Jack.
Hey, what's good?
And you know how we're doing, so let's get straight into it, man. First of all, we apologize for not bringing you draft content on day 3 and Sunday. We had some stuff get in the way of that. I've got my finals week coming up, not this week, but the next week. And Jack has also got a lot of schoolwork these days, so that got in the way this weekend a little bit. But we should be staying on top of things from here on out, and my school's going to be ending, so we're going to be having a lot more time to make videos. Second of all, tonight we're doing our draft recap and grades. This is going to be the end to our 2020 NFL draft coverage. It's been great so far, a great way to kickstart our channel. But yeah, we're trying to move on to bigger and better things. We've actually got something real sick for our NFL coverage to continue the off season. So I'm gonna hand it over to Jack for that. Jack, take it away with that.
Yeah, so as Dom said, we're going to be sort of, as we get ready for this NFL season, hopefully it'll start on time. But we were thinking that we would, sort of recap, the off season and sort of stuff like that. So what we decided on was that we were going to do somewhat of a round table. So talk about each team, their strengths and weaknesses. So it's going to be in a divisional round table format. So it's pretty much we're going to be going from each team to the next. And on my channel, I'm going to be talking about the NFC teams. And on Don's channel, it's going to be all about the AFC teams. So just be looking for that in the future.
That's right. So look for that. We're going to kickstart Jack's channel. We finally put a video up there tomorrow. So look for that. Anyway, tonight we're going to be bringing you some draft grades. We're going to go team by team. We're going to go in alphabetical order because it's just what the easiest thing to do with this NFL draft site would be. Anyway, we're going to start with the Arizona Cardinals, and we're just going to get straight into it. I think the Arizona Cardinals have one of the best drafts of any team. Obviously, they had a lot of players fall to them every round. It seems like Isaiah Simmons obviously fell to them at number 8. Which I'm not even going to talk about. We know who Isaiah Simmons is. I've covered that on my big board and in my draft coverage, and as well as everybody else has. You can go check out his tape. Josh Jones, tackle from Houston, is kind of a project. A lot of teams passed on him. Myself and a lot of other guys had him going first round. A lot of people had him going to the Hawks at 27. A lot of people had him going to Miami at 30. I had him going to the Titans at 30. But he ended up going in the third round to, and that's basically like Arizona having a second round pick, in my opinion. Then the fact that they get these 2 D tackles in Lecky Fotu and Rashard Lawrence, I think either of them could have gone in the third round by some estimation. I think that's it's almost like they had a 1, 2, and a 3 and a 4 instead of a it's almost like their third round pick was a second, and one of those fourth round picks could be a third. Depending on which one of those D tackles you like more. Evan Weaver as a linebacker out of California has always been really solid. He's not a very good combine guy. Not his physical stats don't jump off the charts. No good measurements, but high football IQ, and he knows what he's doing. Good culture builder. And then Eno Benjamin out of Arizona State in the 7th round, I think has easy third round, maybe even second round potential. I think the Arizona Cardinals absolutely killed it in this draft, and I'm going to give them an A. What about you, Jack?
Same here. I definitely think that, based on...
I'm talking, I apologize.
Okay.
I'm going to share this screen again and get you back.
So no one heard what I just said?
Nobody heard what you... I didn't hear any of it.
Okay.
So that means the stream didn't hear it either. I apologize,
okay.
But... yeah. What do you think this Arizona Cardinals draft, round 2?
I'd have to agree with you. I think that they, it's definitely an A for me. I definitely think that based on their picks, I think they definitely lean more on the defensive side. But
that's true.
Yeah, and that's what they needed all in all because, they have a young core on offense, and I think that Benjamin will add to that based on what you said. Like, he's easily second, third round talent. I think that was a steal in the 7th round that they got.
Definitely.
And then Josh Jones even on the line, because like you gotta have a guy up there get Kyler Murray trusted back there. So I think this was all in all a really good draft for him.
Yeah, there's a couple things I actually wanted to touch on that you said there. First of all, Benjamin is a perfect replacement for David Johnson, 7th round. What you said about the defensive side of the ball, I think that rings absolutely true. The defense has been horrendous. Obviously, they added Hopkins, and I think I also was talking to you the other day, and I mentioned that it would be irresponsible with Kyler Murray not to take Josh Jones or not to take some sort of offensive lineman. I think I was actually at first I was talking about Tua, and I was saying that they should take. I was talking about how they took Austin Jackson. They may have reached, but why it's a good pick because it would be irresponsible not to take an O-lineman for him. It's the same, and then I think I used this as an example. That rang true for that as well. So overall, we both gave Arizona an A. They only had 6 picks, but they used them all extremely well. And honestly, I think it's now a 4-team race instead of a 3-team race in the division, but you'll have to watch the divisional roundtable for more on that. All right. And now we're moving into the Atlanta Falcons. And the Falcons, a lot of people felt had a lower tier draft. Yeah, but getting into these picks, first of all, I really like A.J. Terrell out of Clemson. As you guys know, he got burned in the Natty by Jamar Chase. Still has every bit of talent, still a competitor, and he's just the type of guy who, when he gets beaten, and then he comes back twice as hard. And the talent level that he has, I think he's going to be a 10-year starter in the NFL. Marlon Davidson in the 2nd round, I thought was a bit of a reach. People thought that these 2 picks particularly were reaches, and then Matt Hennessy on our big board, he was actually close to the 78th ranking. I think he was up in I think he might have been the 80s. But I don't think
so. Yeah,
that was too much of a reach on our big board. Michael Walker, Jalen Hawkins, and Sterling. I don't know. So if they have a punter, that's their guy. I'll say that's a good pick in the 7th round because you're getting value.
It also makes me think that Matt Bosher's finally gone.
Probably. We'll see what.
Probably about to release Matt Bosher.
We'll see what ends up happening all there, or maybe this guy doesn't make the team. He's a 7th round pick, so likely doesn't make the team as well.
But why would you draft a punter? If he wasn't gonna,
maybe they wanted him to compete.
Team,
maybe they wanted him to compete, and maybe they could probably still. I'd see them still probably dropping this guy before they drop their guy that's been their punter.
I think they'll probably do what they did with when Michael Dixon got drafted. They'll probably do the same thing with John Ryan, let them compete. Yeah,
but the odds of Michael Dixon being the guy you draft are really low. So I'd say it's
right.
Yeah. We have to remember most of these 7th round picks aren't going to make the roster.
Right.
Anyway. I guess, so Michael Walker, I don't know a ton about, but I think he's actually a pretty good pick for the 4th round. I don't know a crap ton about him. Do you know much about him, Jack?
Not really, no.
And Jalen Hawkins, I don't know too much. I actually know Jalen Hawkins I do know about. I think Jalen Hawkins benefited from Ashton Davis in the Cal secondary, but I think they were an extremely good tandem, and I think they were both extremely smart Barkley guys. So I don't know. I think Jalen Hawkins is going to take probably a couple years, and I don't think he'll ever be physical enough to be a starter in the NFL, but I think he could be a backup and a special teamer, and he could fill in because he's smart enough to. But I'm going to end up giving the Falcons here. I think I'm going to give them. Mel Kiper didn't give anybody below a C, and other guys are extremely harsh. I'm going to give this team. I'm going to give the Falcons a C plus.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking.
I don't know. Maybe.
I think there could be potential. That's why I give them a C plus. But I think they seem like lower tier players.
Well, I don't think they're lower tier players. I don't think we know, and they don't that's the part. The hard part is that, like overall, I feel like the problem is that how well do they supplement their current roster and their current state, like with the draft? I mean, in free agency, what have they done? Not really much. Gurley, I guess. Gurley.
Yeah.
Gurley, and then they still have. I mean, but the defense is still shaky, and I guess all they've added. I mean, those 4 players. I guess that's a good draft for. I feel comfortable with the C plus because they only had these 6 picks, and they got those 4 defensive players out of it.
They did need to get an edge rusher too, because Vic Beasley's gone now. So
right, that Vic Beasley presence is huge on the edge. I mean, Marlon Davidson. We don't know what he's gonna do, but that's their guy. And they got him in the 2nd round. So, anyway, Michael Walker. Yeah, he's pretty athletic. I'd give the Falcons a C plus. Where would you go? C plus?
C plus, yep.
You said C?
C plus.
Yeah. Baltimore Ravens 3rd. So these guys have a stacked roster, and they just had to add to it. So it's easy, but I am going to give them a good grade for it because, hey, I mean, they did what they had to do. Like, look at... They had a lot of picks. They added so many good players to an already so good roster. Let me preface by saying I'm not giving them lower than an A minus. Let's see, how many players do we have 2nd round grades on, Jack? We had Patrick Queen as a high 2nd round grade. JK, or he might have been a 1st round grade for us. I think we had him 32. J.K. Dobbins we had as our 2nd highest back, I'm pretty sure. Madu Buiki is an easy 2nd rounder that they got in the 3rd, right?
Yeah.
Duvernay is somebody that I was actually watching the Texas LSU game today, and I saw Duvernay's touchdown in that. Dude, I mean, Duvernay is a good receiver for the NFL, and that's their guy. They've had some good luck drafting receivers. Not great, but good. And in the 3rd round, at the very end, I really like that pick. Malik Harrison, we had as a 2nd rounder, I'm pretty sure, on our board as well.
Right.
That's an Ohio State guy. He plays the game physical. He's tough. He's talented and he's smart. You can't ask for a ton more than him. These 2 guards. Do you know anything? I've heard these names, but I don't know these 2 guards that well. But if you like these guards,
I've heard some good things about Breedson.
Me too. I mean, that's good. That's line depth. That's their guys for line depth on an already good line. And I'm pretty sure in the 4th and 3rd round, these guys were getting at least that type of buzz, Like we saw them in mock drafts in the 3rd round.
And yeah.
Broderick Washington.
Ben Breedson he played some reps at center this year too for Michigan.
All right, so there's versatility.
Yep.
Broderick Washington. I don't know much about him. That's another D tackle. At this point, they're just using their picks to get guys in camp. And James Proche obviously had a super productive year at SMU. Geno Stone, Iowa. They had so many picks. I'm going to give him an A minus.
Yeah. I mean, when you already have a loaded roster, I mean, you're just looking to get depth,
Well, Pat Queen, Dobbins isn't going to start over Ingram, but could push him for reps. Duvernay could push for reps. Malik Harrison's going to be really tough, but he could with Patrick Queen somehow. Madu Buike, is a possibility.
Yeah.
But man, the Ravens got, they did really, really well. Anyway, I'm gonna give the Ravens an A minus.
Yeah, I'm gonna give an A minus.
Only reason I don't give them an A or an A plus, I'm gonna give them an A plus because they have a loaded roster. They know what they're doing, and this is the proof. The proof is in the pudding. They know what they're doing. Yeah, and like this is just smart management. Like they're getting loaded. This is the reason they have a loaded roster, is because this is the way they draft.
The loaded roster and the reigning MVP.
Well, look, no, well, and why do they have that reigning MVP? You know,
Right.
exactly. Like that reigning MVP was also because I mean they made that was one super good draft decision. This is a bunch of really good ones, and not trying. Now they've made their really good draft decision in Lamar Jackson. They've built around it. Honestly, the Ravens. I mean, that's one of the scariest teams in the league.
Yeah.
And honestly, the Chiefs are getting a lot of buzz in the AFC, but I think the Ravens should feel like they're still the top dog, and they feel like they were shorted last year.
Yeah.
All
right,
yeah.
Buffalo Bills.
Moving on to Buffalo, New York, to New Era Field. They got AJ Epineza with their first pick in the second round. That's almost like having a pick at the end of the first round, if you ask me. I mean,
exactly.
We had the dude going 22nd in the first round. He went 22nd in the second. So
that's first round talent. That's overlooked right there.
Absolutely. Yeah. As far as we're concerned, that's first round talent. So that's an A pick. Zach Moss in the third round, I think, is maybe even second round talent as a running back.
Exactly.
Except for they needed a running back, so it ends up working out for him. At the end of the third, Gabriel Davis out of UCF, I don't think is quite as good of a receiver as these other guys. Group of five, not power five. He's not quite as physically gifted. But if he's their guy, the Buffalo doesn't have terrible luck drafting receivers either. Jake Fromm as a backup in the fifth round, I have no problem with. A kicker that you like in the sixth, who cares if you like him? He's going to do more for your roster than any of these other guys. Isaiah Hodgins from Oregon State's good, not great. He could compete for a roster spot, no problem with it in the sixth. And Dane Jackson out of Pittsburgh, I've also heard good things about him. And I've actually seen a couple I think I've seen a highlight tape from him. I know that guy's actually good for the seventh, for the very end. So I'm going to give the Bills here. I know I'm being pretty lenient. I guess I wasn't with the Falcons, even though I liked a couple. I'm going to give the Buffalo Bills here with their, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 picks. I'm going to give them a B-. Or I'm going to give them a B.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a B too. That's what I was going to say.
A B+. B+. They have a good roster. They made the playoffs. They're supplementing it well. There's no holes. They also had an amazing offseason other than the draft. I think it's good. So when we look at them in the snapshot, I think they should be the clear favorites in their division next year.
Yes.
For the first time in 20 years. And moving down to Carolina. All right. So these guys had the 7th pick, and they let Isaiah Simmons slip because Derek Brown was apparently their guy. D-tackle out of Auburn. If you watch the LSU tape, you know what this guy's capable of. As a lineman, Jack knows all how important, this and all how rare this type of talent can be.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't want to pass up. It's hard to blame them. They want to replace Star Latulite and Kawan Short. Yetur Gross-Matos, we're a fan. That's could be their best could wind up being the best edge rusher since like Greg Hardy there. Jeremy Chin, Southern Illinois. I think this guy could be that type of weapon pick that Isaiah Simmons was. I heard that they actually had this guy graded, as like a similar style of player to Isaiah Simmons. They would have used him in similar roles, and they just thought that it was better to get Chin and then go get Gross-Matos and they thought that this combo basically was better than Simmons and any other D tackles they could have had besides Brown.
Yeah. Troy Pride.
Troy Pride is a good. I would have taken other corners in the 4th, but if that's their guy, that's their guy. Kenny Robinson, I don't know much about. Bravion Roy was good for Baylor all year, kept that defense real stout in the middle, although it was Big 12. still a big boy. Stanley Thomas. I don't know about Stanley Thomas. Played at FIU. So I'm not gonna pretend to grade him.
I think that's a hyphenated name, Stanley Thomas.
Well, clearly it's a hyphenated name, but I'm just saying Thomas.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna grade him because I've never heard of him, and I'm not gonna grade him by his name. But I'm gonna give
what would you give him though?
I think I'm gonna give the Carolina Panthers I'm gonna give him a B-. I don't think they did anything exceptional. I don't think they. I think there's still maybe some holes in the roster. I don't know, but since they have three quarterbacks on their roster that could compete for that job, they've got kind of a weird roster, and they got a bunch of their guys. But since I disagree with a couple of them, like Troy Pride, I would have taken somebody other than Kenny Robinson probably, and. They got good value on Gross Matos, but some would say they didn't get the value on Brown. So I'd give them a B- overall.
Yep.
Yeah. And moving on to Chicago. Moving up north, sorry. It's a little bit late here on the West Coast. We always film these videos late because we keep putting it off and stuff, but we're going to get one out early tomorrow, I promise you guys. Anyway, the Bears made a really curious move in the second round, taking the first tight end of the draft, because that's what they really thought they really needed was a tight end, even though that's the 10th one on their roster.
Manned by Jimmy Graham, who's probably still to this day the best tight end in the league, or was.
No, he's not the best tight end in the league.
Well, he was.
For maybe for a couple of years, but he's not the best tight end in the league. Those days are long gone. It's Kelsey or anyway.
It's Kelsey for sure.
I think Trey Burton's probably the best tight end on that team.
Oh yeah, easily. But if you have Jimmy Graham on your team, damn. But anyway, it just adds that Cole Kmet's just adding to the depth.
That's right. All right, now, Cole Kmet, I'm going to give that pick. It just doesn't make sense. They needed to, their roster management just doesn't make sense. Jalen Johnson, late in the second, is a good pick for me. Mid to late second's a good pick for me. Travis Gibson in the 5th, I don't know the guy, but I do know Kindle Vilder, and that's an amazing pick for the 5th. The other 3 guys I also don't know. I'm going to give him like a C. Held up by Kindle Vilder. Other than that, and Jalen Johnson, really, those 2 corners, but they don't even need corners that badly unless they're maybe going to move one of them to safety or something. I think they've had a gaping hole in their defense since Adrian almost left. And I hope they put Jalen Johnson at safety, to be honest, to address that or something.
What do you think of them getting Arlington?
Getting who? Arlington Hambright?
Arlington Hambright.
I don't know. I've heard about the guy is just some big tackle or something.
He's a guard at Colorado, yeah.
Or a big guard, whatever. What I heard about him, there was something special about him, but I don't know. I saw an article about him. I wasn't sure why.
Okay.
Either way, I'm gonna give this a C. Darnell Mooney too. Clearly they missed out on their receivers in this draft, and for what? To get their 10th tight end. The roster management in Chicago just doesn't make as much sense. Matt Nagy's still a wizard. I know he's got something cooking up, I don't know. I hope the Bears got something cool for us, but I can't tell what it is, and I got to give them a C for that.
That's a tough division, too.
Yeah, Mel Kiper didn't get anybody below a C. I hope that's not what I end up being. Anyway, the Bengals, I'm going to give an A+. Starting off, yes, all they had to do was select Joe Burrow, but they did, and it's going to fix their team. It's going to have the biggest impact of any pick. I've heard some people go we could go on as long as we want, as far as we want about Joe Burrow, but we're not gonna. A+ overall, but T. Higgins in the second round, I had him at 19 on the big board and going 19 overall as well. To the Raiders, I believe. Logan Wilson out of Wyoming in the third. A lot of people liked him as a second. Akeem Davis Gaither in the fourth. A lot of people liked him as a third, and people are really raving about that pick, I've heard. Marcus Bailey is also had some injury issues, but he has the talent of a fourth or third even. So like
definitely, yeah.
Maybe even higher. So, some people are saying that's a bad pick for the injury. I'd say it's a good pick that, you were able to get him that low for the injury. Khalid Kareem and Hakeem Adeniji. Hakeem Adeniji out of Kansas. I know I've seen this guy, and he's not terrible. I think he's a little bit of a project. He's quite a bit of a project, I think, actually. But then Khalid Kareem out of Notre Dame, I'm pretty sure he's a pretty decent lineman. He played at Notre Dame last year, and he wasn't terrible, right?
Yeah.
I didn't watch a ton of Notre Dame, but I do remember hearing his name a lot. Anyway, those first four picks I really like. I'm going to give it an A+. Joe Burrow outweighs everything else. Whether they took Hakeem Adeniji or some other guard in the 6th round, it's not going to matter in a year. It's not going to matter in 2 months. All that's going to matter is Joe Burrow. And I got to give the Bengals an A+. Jack, do you have a different opinion?
No, not at all. I think that the Bengals definitely, they got some steals. Definitely, I think with that, with T. Higgins and Logan Wilson in particular.
Yeah. I mean, Davis Gaither, I didn't think about him I didn't even think to put him on my big board, but people had him going, people were really raving about him once they made that pick. I guess he performed well at Appalachian State.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to the Browns. The Brownies. As Pat McAfee would say, the Brownies. All right. So with the 10th pick, they took Jedrick Wills. We thought they were going to be taking the third tackle. They ended up taking the second one in Wills. And I thought he was the best one. Jack, didn't you think he was the best one too?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So we thought that was a real good pick. Delpit in the second round, I think, is an absolute steal. I think teams are sleeping. The fact that they didn't take him because he missed a couple tackles, I don't know. I think Grant Delpit, he was nicknamed Baby Maul for after Baby Jamal. So, or after Jamal Adams, excuse me, can't speak. But
yep.
Yeah. Then they took Jordan Elliott, who we had mocked to the Seahawks in the third. We had him mocked right around. We had him mocked to the Seahawks in the second. So that's another value pick a round later than they should have got him. Jacob Phillips out of LSU is absolute playmaker. Absolute playmaker. I'm not going to say he's every bit as good as Patrick Queen, but he's really, 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 really good. And he's got the dog like Patrick Queen. He's every bit I trust him on my football team. Harrison Bryant in the 4th round, people had him going a little earlier if they liked him as a tight end. A lot of teams also passed on him, that's worth saying. So maybe that's not such a good pick. Nick Harris, the center out of Washington, is terrible because he's a Husky. I'm just kidding. He's okay. And Peoples Jones,
a little bit undersized.
And Peoples Jones in the 6th, man. I think that's a sleeper pick that could have gone in the 4th or even the 3rd as well. I'd give the Browns an A. I'm going to give them a B+.
Yeah.
You know why? I mean, I like all these players. They took a lot of players that a lot of other teams, didn't want to take. Maybe they, it seems like they're always winning like this, like when they took Greedy Williams last year,
Yep.
However, to me, what this really says is no excuses. No excuses. You guys have everything you need, and there's no excuses for the Browns not making the playoffs. I'm going to give the Browns a B+, though, and you give them a B?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, we got the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to I'm going to try to go through these a little quicker because it is a little bit late here. So we've got CeeDee Lamb in the first round. A lot of people felt was good pick. Trevon Diggs in the second. We had him going in the first. Both of those are value. Neville Gallimore we had going in the second, so that's another value pick. Robinson, I thought there was other corners on the board, but if that's their guy, then it's okay. Biadasz.
Biadasz, they needed a center because Travis Frederick retired.
And Biadasz was actually a first rounder as about a year ago, people thought.
Exactly. So I think that was a good pick for him.
I think that's a real good pick. Bradley at Nye out of Utah is actually real good too. In the Pac-12, we've seen this guy wreck our teams.
And the quarterback out of James Madison, who probably
quarterback
might be the backup.
Quarterback doesn't matter. Probably won't make the roster. But grading these other picks, I like these other picks. Other than Reggie Robinson, really, I'm gonna give the Cowboys a B+.
Yep. Actually, I'm gonna go A-. I think that.
Yeah, I
think that they're nice. Like the Cowboys had a really nice balanced draft. I think.
Yeah,
the guys they selected.
I mean, they went need. To me, the two biggest needs they addressed in the first two rounds. Maybe best player available, another sort of need. I'm going to go B+.
Okay.
Broncos. We're talking about Denver. And they actually had a good draft, too. I didn't like this move, taking two receivers in the first two rounds, though, when you had a Pro Bowl one in Cortland Sutton last year. I felt like they have a lot of other places on the offense, particularly on the line, or, I don't know, just other places they could address. But if they really, KJ Hamler did fall, and I've heard rave reviews about him from a lot of people who've seen him in person on a football field. Jerry Jeudy, we know who Jerry Jeudy is. Good pick at 15. Lloyd Cushenberry, I thought they got around late in the third. And McTelvin Agim was on our big board, although as he was the last player. He was somebody that we kept an eye out. We barely knew the name. And his film looks pretty good after watching it during the draft. Okwuegbunam, not terrible. Ojemudia is a little bit of a curious pick because there was a lot of corners left that I thought were way better. The only pick I don't like is Ojemudia. For that reason, I'm going to give him a B. And I guess Netanya Moody in the 6th is good though. This guy could have been. PFF I think had him as their 60th prospect, and they took him at 181.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them a B. They've got some good picks. They had a lot of picks. I don't think that, I don't know a couple of these players. Tyree Cleveland's okay. Speedster. I'm going to give them a B, though. I don't think they did quite exceptional. I think they got a couple of really good picks.
Yeah.
What grade would you give them?
Probably along the same lines. I'd probably give them a B.
Okay. Moving on. Detroit Lions.
They had a lot of picks, too.
These guys, they had quite a few picks. Jeff Okudah, DeAndre Swift. I'd give both really good picks. Okwara in the 3rd. Jackson in the 3rd. These other guys, I'm going to stop reading the names of these guys.
Yeah.
You guys can see these players, but I didn't watch a single one of these guys closely last year. John Pennicini at Utah I saw, and he's okay. But anyway, these top couple picks, based on these guys who are actually going to make a difference next year on the roster, I'm going to give them a B. I think these guys are all solid contributors. They've got 4 solid contributors out of, quite a few picks. Maybe one of these guys is some sort of contributor, but not in a big way.
Right.
And I'm gonna give him a B. I'm gonna give him a B-. I think they could have taken Jonathan Taylor or J.K. Dobbins instead of DeAndre Swift. I think those would have been more all-purpose 3-down backs. I maybe I'm sleeping on DeAndre Swift. One of you can let me know in the comments below, but I'm going to give the Lions a B minus just because of that pick.
Yeah.
And what are you going to give him, Jack?
I'm going to give him a B.
B. All right. Yeah, they're close.
Yeah.
They haven't had a good running back in forever. I mean, Kerryon Johnson's okay. I don't think he's good enough to be an NFL starter. The backfield committee with those two, I think it'll be okay. Still not.
Oh, yeah.
Still, nothing that jumps out compared to the other ones in the NFL today, though. The Packers. This is the place where we can come in and we can hate and we can agree with everybody else on the internet. I agree with everything Pat McAfee says about the way it pisses off Aaron Rodgers. There's the stats that glare. The two stats that glare is that they gave up 186 yards before contact rushing in the NFC Championship game. And they could have, if they didn't do that, and they had a better D-line, which they could have taken they could have taken countless linebackers, defensive linemen here. That would have massively improved that run defense. Instead, they traded up the trading up a couple spots. If they think this guy's the next great quarterback, which they might, then the trading up a couple spots I won't even fault them for. But it's hard. It's impossible for me to give this pick more than a C until Jordan Love makes Jordan Love. Like Max Kellerman had a good point the other day. Jordan Love has to make the Hall of Fame because you have to make this worth it somehow. All of this
you gotta make. Yeah, you gotta make.
If Aaron Rodgers, if you're not planning on Aaron Rodgers retiring in 3 years, then you're gonna pay Jordan Love. AJ Dillon in the second blocked the Seahawks from taking him. I saw a lot of people pissed off about that. He's a good player in Madden. I know you guys know. He has that first round talent because he's a power back like that. I just, it's a good pick, but with Aaron Jones, I just think that it's not the end. Jamal Williams, I think they have a plenty good enough backfield, and I don't think that's what they need. Josiah DeGuara, when there's other tight ends available, Kamal Martin, John Runyon, all these other guys. No wide receivers. I'm giving this draft a D.
Same, yeah.
They needed a wide receiver really, really bad. Did they take a corner? They didn't take a corner either. And Jared Alexander can't play on both sides. So they took Vernon Scott from TCU in the 7th round. But I'm gonna give this draft a D. I don't want my lowest grade to be a C or a C minus. I'm giving the Packers a D. The Texans, they didn't have many picks. They did not
have a lot of picks.
They didn't have many picks. With the few picks they had, Russ Blacklock, Jonathan Grenard, whatever it is. I like this Jonathan Grenard pick, actually. I think that could turn out to be pretty good. But there's a cap on this draft. I'm going to give them a C+. They did as good. Maybe they did as good as they could with. I'm going to give them a C minus. No, they don't deserve a C+, dude. This is C minus to me.
I think that Ross Blacklock is like their only, maybe Grenard.
I think Grenard is a little bit of a project, but is a good player. I think Grenard's a good player Grenard's a good player with a 10-year NFL career, I think. And Blacklock's a day one starter. Charlie Heck, John Reed, and Isaiah Coulter, I don't know anything about, but only having 5 picks, the way I'm giving these draft grades, I am giving the teams who picked a lot of players a better grade for it, even though I know they won't all make the roster. Indianapolis Colts. Oh, look at that picture that they have. You know how happy that makes me. Can I get a Go Cougs in the comments?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody who puts Go Cougs in the comments, shout out to you. Anyway, we look at the Colts. I know Colin Cowherd has been raving about the Colts. I'm talking about, I was on the phone with Chris Ballard, and he told me he loves all these guys, and he got them all. He's always he was always honking that horn. Anyway, Pittman and Taylor, I think, is a good. I'm gonna say that's a really good 2 second-round picks, and Blackman's an above a good third-round pick. Although I think that's like, I don't think they had. Jacob Eason could start in a couple years when Phillip Rivers retires. I think Jacob Eason is absolute trash. If you guys know anything about me, I think his rival QB in college this year was far better. And I don't understand how Eason. I mean, I understand Eason's far more talented. With the big, strong, all this stuff. I would, if I had to choose one player to win an NFL game tomorrow, or in 2 years, or in 3 years, or to win as many games in an NFL season as I could, I'd still take Anthony Gordon. I think Jacob Eason has an insane pocket presence. He's like Jameis Winston to me. I don't want to. I'm obviously being biased here, but that's part of who I am, man. Jacob Eason's. I hate Jacob Eason and Patman with this 6th round pick. I love. That's my boy. I've been watching him for years. Dude had good combine. He's had a bunch of good years here. Obviously, our system doesn't favor receivers doing insanely well, but he's got himself drafted in spite of it. I'm going to give the Colts a B. I'm going to give them a B. They supplemented. They have a kind of a stacked roster, to be honest with you guys. I think the Colts are going to make a run this year.
Oh, yeah.
Although this AFC South I'm really excited for. Shout out this AFC South preview. You know I'll wear this jersey, but all the teams in that's a 4-team division. And speaking of Saxonville, we're moving on to them right now. And I love how they are going to show Jake Luton here, even though we drafted a great quarterback last year. And you shouldn't even be thinking about Jake Luton. First, let me say they reached on these 2 first-round picks a tiny bit, but I like both of them. And if they like both of these players, I think that's smart because they're both going to start in the defense for a long time, as well as Devon Hamilton from Ohio State. I'm not sure. Shaquille Quarterman could be an NFL player for a while. And Chris Claybrooks, actually, my friend played Pee Wee football with. Shout out Ethan Bray. You already know. Dude runs a 4.25. I would not doubt Chris Claybrooks.
No.
Dude runs I'm just saying, dude runs a 4.25.
They had a lot of picks. Wow.
Ben Barch is a really good pick for the 4th round. We had him going to the Rams at 62 overall. I'm going to give the Jags a B+ here. I didn't love Shenault because I thought they have a solid stable of receivers, and I thought they could have used some other players that were still available. But if they liked him, I mean, they totally got a ton of players. Daniel Thomas is actually a really good safety at Auburn, in my opinion. Colin Johnson's a little bit underrated at Texas. Yeah, I think they had a really good draft. I'm going to give them a B+. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, B+.
I know you're getting tired here, but we got to power through this. Actually, you know what? Since we're getting tired, I'm going to check the stream. All right, since we're not getting... Hey, we did get a like. Shout out whoever dropped a like. And shout out whoever's in the stream right now. Although, due to us being tired, I think we're going to end it here, and we're going to do the second half tomorrow morning. Jack, what time works for you tomorrow morning?
Probably around like 10:45, something like that.
Hey, at 11, we're going to go live tomorrow morning. We're going to do the second half of our draft recaps. We did Arizona through Jacksonville, and we'll be back tomorrow with Kansas City through Washington. With that being said, It's been a pleasure as always. We apologize for ending it early, but I want to bring you guys quality content, and
Yes.
we're kind of just speeding through it. I want to analyze a couple of these players, especially these next couple teams, a little more than this. So with that being said, it's been Dom and Jack. You guys have been watching you guys have been watching our 2020 NFL draft coverage, and we're out.